Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 6 Part 25 based on novel. So let's start. The giant golden sword fragments exploded outwards and even air itself seemed to be torn apart wherever the fragments passed, let alone the buildings below, which were directly turned into Swiss cheese, revealing numerous glossy black holes. Within the darkness, shock stealthily surfaced in the several eyes which had been watching the night sky. Evidently, no one had expected Lindong to directly smash Luo Tong's formidable attack into pieces with just the strength of 3 Yuan Nirvana stage. There was practically no warm-up period in the duo's exchange. Their first blows were formidable strikes. Both knew that the other was no ordinary individual. Thus, neither party planned to show any mercy when they attacked. Hence, this short exchange secretly contained an endless amount of danger. In the courtyard, Tsukue involuntarily swallowed when he saw that scene. His eyes could not help but turn towards the tall figure shrouded in green light. The cards up this fellow's sleeves were completely astonishing. Little Martin still maintained his lazy appearance as if nothing was out of the ordinary. Although Luo Tong had reached the 4 Yuan Nirvana stage, he had clearly advanced to that stage not too long ago. To suppress Lindong with just this was undoubtedly a pipe dream. What's more, the current Lindong had dragon transformation, a martial art that even little Martin felt was extremely wondrous and mysterious. Hovering in the night sky, Luo Tong stared intensely at that figure shrouded by a green glow. At the same time, the shock in his eyes stealthily retreated. Moments later, it was completely transformed into a solemn glint. Right now, he no longer dared to treat that young man in front of him as an ordinary individual. It seems like I have indeed underestimated you. Luo Tong's voice was solemn. He pointed out 2 of his pale fingers before he clipped a giant sword fragment that was flying back at him. The sharp glow flowing in his eyes were as sharp as a blade. Even if that is the case, I must tell you. It is not a wise move to offend my Windcloud Empire. While that green glow flowed, that dragon-like shadow slowly swiveled before it gradually disappeared. Promptly, Lindong's figure once again appeared in front of countless pairs of eyes that were stealthily surveilling him. After withdrawing the green glow, the cold glint on the green scales on Lindong's right arm began to glow even more resplendently. As he lifted his head, a cold glint also appeared on his pupils, which were mixed with a dash of green, before he said, "I must tell you too. You have overestimated yourselves." Swoosh! After he spoke, Lindong's eyes turned completely icy cold. Following which, his figure flashed as he leapt forth. Countless blurry shadows transformed into a green light ray, as he directly tore through the air and appeared in front of Luo Tong at a startling rate. Lindong's sudden increase in speed caused Luo Tong to be stunned. However, promptly, the vigorous Yuan power in his body gushed out. He knew that there were countless individuals observing this place. Therefore, tonight, for the sake of Windcloud Empire's reputation, he must thrash this fellow who has suddenly popped out in Wanxiang City. Green Dragon Bat. A glaring green glow swept out from Lindong's body in every direction. Finally, it swiftly gathered on the middle finger of Lindong's right palm. As that green glow quickly gathered together, Lindong's figure began to swell up in a peculiar fashion. Green scales slowly appeared on his fingers. In a few short moments, Lindong's finger had transformed into a several meters long green dragon finger. His dragon finger was wrapped with countless green scales. Meanwhile, a savage shockwave emerged from it. At the tip of his finger, there was a dazzling cold glint which looked as if it could penetrate through space. This was a genuine dragon finger and it was not forged from Yuan power. The materialized dragon skill that Qingji had given Lindong had the ability to rob the heavens of its powers. If you could fully master it, his physical body would rival that of the dragon tribe. Of course, based on Lindong's current strength, he had naturally yet to reach that stage. Nonetheless, he could still barely transform one of his fingers into that of a dragon. When this giant dragon finger appeared on Lindong's palm, it seems fairly peculiar. However, that vibrations that seeped out caused Luo Tong's expression to turn solemn instantly. Swoosh! Once that dragon finger appeared, Lindong did not hesitate anymore. As he suddenly stretched out his arm, wherever the green dragon finger flashed by, the surrounding air was completely scattered. Following which, the green glow tore through the air and stabbed at Luo Tong as quick as lightning. Kai? Kai? Everywhere the dragon finger flashed by, it caused a piercing sound wave. As he stared at that dragon finger, that was growing rapidly in his pupils, vigorous yuan power gushed out manically from within Luo Tong's body. Finally, his hand seals changed as he furiously shouted, "Sword shield finger!" Sharp yuan power manically gathered in front of Luo Tong. In mere moments, they transformed into a large shield-like yuan power sword. An exceedingly solid sensation emerged from within, and it seemed like an extremely powerful shield. Clang! Once that sword shield materialized, an exceedingly sharp green glow violently approached. Following which, under countless stares from the crowd, it solidly slammed against that sword shield. Instantly, a piercing metallic sound violently resounded across the night sky. Boom! A terrifyingly force erupted the instant finger and shield collided. Due to that force, Luo Tong's body was actually forcefully pushed back by hundreds of meters. Burst chi! There was sparks crackling on that sword shield. Lindong's body continued to rush forth, while Luo Tong's body was directly pushed back by that force. Anyone could tell that Lindong had actually taken the upper hand in this direct fight. Luo Tong's expression was solemn. He could similarly sense just how powerful Lindong's attack was. He had never expected that even after he poured all his strength in his shield, he was still forced into such a sorry state. However, he believed that Lindong would not be able to sustain this kind of attack for long. As long as he is able to endure his vicious counterattack, he would have the chance to turn the tables. When he thought of this point, a cold glint flashed across Luo Tong's razor-sharp eyes. At this moment, he suddenly saw a derisive smile slowly appeared on Lindong's face. Promptly, his heart trembled. Break! While that derisive smile appeared on his lips, Lindong strangely pulled back his arm. Following which he was only a short distance away, his green dragon finger began to vibrate at a terrifying rate. Meanwhile, a piercing sound wave began to spread out while his dragon finger shook. When he saw this sight, Luo Tong's pupils violently shrunk. To use high-speed vibrations in order to increase his destructive power. That fellow's physical body is actually this powerful. Green dragon finger, destroy. A rapidly shaking green dragon finger carved out several blurry shadows, as it flew out as quick as lightning. Finally, it viciously slammed against that solid sword shield. Kai? Kai? A piercing sound wave manically sounded out from the sword shield. Finally, Luo Tong's shrunken eyes shriveled until it was the size of a pin. That was because he saw that there were actually small cracks appeared on the sword shield that he had used all of his yuan power to create. Break! Lindong's eyes were icy cold as he viciously shouted. Following which, his fingers began to vibrate even more vigorously. Crack! More and more cracks began to appear. Moments later, under Luo Tong's astonished stare, the shield that covered his body began to explode with a loud bang. Boom! Shrapnels filled the horizons. However, Lindong's expression remained calm. As he jerked his arm, that green glow directly tore through the shrapnels before it lightning-quick stabbed on Luo Tong's chest. Ding! That dragon finger landed on Luo Tong's chest, but it did not pierce the latter's body. Instead, a clear and crisp sound echoed out. As the residue force emerged, Luo Tong's shirt ripped apart before revealing a black vest that he was wearing underneath. On that black vest, there was a peculiar glow shimmering. Evidently, it was a fairly powerful soul treasure. However, right now, the glow on the soul treasure had dimmed. Evidently, it had suffered a big blow after taking Lindong's finger attack. Buzz. Chi. Even though he had the soul treasure to protect him, which allowed him to avoid a fatal attack, the residue force still wounded Luo Tong until he was forced to spit out a mouthful of blood. Meanwhile, his body hideously flew out. Following which, his figure flashed before he actually used the momentum to make an escape. Lindong, you will regret this. as Luo Tong's fled, and deep and enraged roar resounded across the night sky. During the night, the entire city seemed to have turned silent stealthily. Several pairs of hidden eyes were filled with shock. That first-ranked Earth category member who had already advanced into 4 Yuan Nirvana stage was actually wounded and forced back by Lindong. That fellow is simply too vicious. Several pairs of eyes involuntarily turned to look at that man hovering in the night sky. It was simply too much for them to believe that Luo Tong would actually be defeated by him. Furthermore, that guy was simply too gutsy. Injuring Luo Tong was akin to a declaration of war against the Windcloud Empire. The two heads of the Windcloud Empire will not let this matter rest. Some individuals muttered to themselves. They could only imagine just how enraged the Windcloud Empire will be when they hear about Lindong's provocations. The night sky gradually turned darker. However, that wild and violent energy ripple continued to remain in the night sky, causing many gazes present to be quietly tremble in fear. A couple of figures stood facing the wind on a tall tower at the north of the city. Their eyes were locked onto the direction where the big battle had erupted earlier. There was an unknown expression in their eyes. What an interesting fellow. However, his strength is indeed quite strong. There was a moon-white-clothed handsome man standing right at the front. He gradually withdrew his gaze from the distant, while an interested smile surfaced on his face. Although I do not have a deep relationship with Lindong, I am aware that someone like him will not live under anyone. The Windcloud Empire will definitely end up being rejected if it wished to recruit them. Another white-cloaked figure stood behind the white-clothed man. This was Mu Hanyu, whom Lindong had met during the day. At this moment, she had also withdrew her gaze from the night sky. There was still some remnant shock within her pretty eyes. Clearly, that big battle earlier had greatly exceeded her expectations. Not easy to recruit her? I can tell that Lindong's group is not a simple one. If we can recruit them, they will definitely be of great help. The handsome man said. Difficult. Mu Hanyu shook her head slightly. She looked towards the direction that Luo Tong had fled towards and softly said, Luo Tong is a good example. The reason why Lindong fought is to send us a message. He does not intend on joining any empires. Or rather, he thinks that there is not a single empire who has the qualification to recruit them, even including us, the super empires. Ha ha, what an arrogant fellow. The man laughed. It might be impossible to recruit such a person as a subordinate, but it is still possible to have a good relation with him through other means. Currently, they have offended the Windcloud Empire. This is quite good from the perspective of our Lone Moon Empire. Mu Hanyu said. The man nodded as he voiced his thoughts. The focus of the Windcloud Empire will definitely be placed on the auction held the day after tomorrow. They intend to obtain that heavenly soul treasure at any cost. If they were to obtain it, it is likely that no one will be able to stop them in the Wanxiang city. Other than our Lone Moon Empire, there are 2 other super empires who are also eyeing that heavenly soul treasure. They will not allow the Windcloud Empire to obtain it so easily, Mu Hanyu spoke faintly. There is still going to be a fight over this matter. Whoever obtains this heavenly soul treasure would likely gain quite a great advantage in the subsequent 100 Empire War. No one will give up so easily. 2 figures were seated on a tall platform at the southern part of the city. A chessboard was placed in front of them and it looked like they were challenging each other. Swoosh! A rushing wind sound was emitted from a distance. Following which, a figure filled with a bloody stench hideously descended on a platform, before he stood in front of 2 seated individuals. His face was bitter and it was indeed Luo Tong, who was defeated in Lindong's hands earlier. Lindong, it is rumored that he has obtained one of the 4 great mysterious sects' inheritance. It is unexpected that someone who had come from a low-ranked empire is actually able to climb to such a stage in the ancient battlefield. It is really not easy. A seated figure raised his eyes, glanced at Luo Tong and laughed faintly. That fellow is indeed quite strong. Moreover, the martial arts that he had displayed is also extremely strange. Luo Tong could not resist but say after recalling the mysterious martial arts displayed by Lindong that had transformed his finger into a dragon finger. It should be a martial arts from the Green Dragon Hall, one of the four great mysterious sects. Another seated man raised his head. His facial expression was of a sickly pale color. That paleness appeared as though there was no blood flowing in him. That fellow refuses to hand over Suru. What should we do? Luo Tong softly asked. We must definitely obtain that girl. If we are able to obtain that kind of strength, we will definitely be able to stand out in the 100 Empire War. In fact, we will have no need to fear even when facing those powerful existences. The pale-faced man pressed his finger gently on the chessboard and smiled faintly. If he doesn't appreciate kindness, all we will need to do is to finish him off when the time comes. The smile on the corner of the man's mouth clearly had a ferocious feeling to it when he spoke. Luo Tong quietly nodded. His eyes similarly possessed a cold glint surging within it. Of course, we must first obtain that heavenly soul treasure from the auction. Once we obtain that thing, we will no longer need to be afraid of the remaining 3 super empires in the Wanxiang city. A little stray like Lindong shall amount to nothing. The figure opposite the pale-faced man finally spoke hoarsely. He raised his head and a ferocious scar could be seen on his face. The scar appeared to wiggle like a centipede, emitting an evil aura as it did so. Luo Tong, you should go and recuperate from your injuries first. Leave them alone for 2 days. We will settle all the grudges when the time comes. The chess piece on the scarred man's hand suddenly landed onto the chessboard. An incomparable wild and violent energy seeped out. All the chess pieces on the chessboard were shattered into powder. I understand. Luo Tong nodded. After which, he turned around and left without saying anything else. How troublesome. If it is not because I do not wish for more trouble at this point in time, I really wish to take action and finish off that brat. The scarred man lifted his head and muttered. He was staring into the distance in a dense wild beast-like manner. Relax, none of them will be able to escape once we obtain the heavenly soul treasure. Compared to this, I really feel a heartache for the price that we will need to pay in order to buy the heavenly soul treasure. If we are not in the Wanxiang city, I really wish to snatch it directly. The pale-faced man laughed faintly. Regardless of what price we pay, we can get them all back when the time comes. The scarred man parted his mouth and smiled. A chillness spread from his dense white teeth. Cuckoo, that's right. The pale-looking man raised his head. The savage feeling from the corner of his mouth became increasingly dense as he muttered, none of you will be able to escape. Such a conversation was currently appearing from quite a number of places within the Wanxiang city. The fight tonight had greatly exceeded the expectations of most people. Originally, they thought that Lindong would be suppressed in the face of the powerful for Yuan Nirvana stage strength of Luo Tong. However, the final result was Luo Tong fleeing after being injured. Lindong had displayed a shocking strength. However, many people understood that though he might appear impressive, he had also completely infuriated the Windcloud Empire. After all, the 2 leaders from the Windcloud Empire that had yet to reveal themselves were the truly frightening existences. Lindong's expression was calm as he stared at the direction in which Luo Tong had fled from the night sky. After which, he slowly landed into the courtyard. Sukue looked at Lindong, who had returned to the courtyard. He quietly swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The latter's strength had clearly shocked him once again. He had discovered that after being acquainted with Lindong, he was continuously being shocked by the strength and trump cards displayed by the latter. It seems that we have truly formed a deep grudge with that Windcloud Empire this time around, little Martin casually laughed. Lindong nodded slightly. His gaze was immediately turned towards Sukue as he asked, the Windcloud Empire has 2 leaders. Yep, these 2 fellows are extremely powerful. They are different from Luo Tong, who has only just advanced to the 4 Yuan Nirvana stage. They have long since stepped into this stage. Moreover, they are also people who are in the heavenly category of the Nirvana tablet. Sukue's expression became solemn upon mentioning this. He clearly understood that the matter tonight had completely offended the Windcloud Empire and they would likely attack them soon. At that time, it would really be a soul-stirring time. Moreover, the techniques of those 2 fellows are also extremely vicious. Back then, they destroyed nearly 5 high-ranked empires overnight when they had just arrived at the Wanxiang city. They even exchanged blows with a super empire like the Lone Moon Empire. Finally, they directly forced the members from the reigning super sect to intervene, before the conflict was finally resolved. Destroying 5 high-ranked empires, Lindong songulated his eyes. This method of establishing their dominance was indeed vicious. The Windcloud Empire is the strongest amongst the 4 super empires in the Wanxiang city. Adding the current Luo Tong, they possess 3 experts who had stepped into the 4 Yuan Nirvana stage. On the other hand, the remaining 3 super empires only have 1 person who had advanced to this level. Lindong nodded as he let out a sigh in his heart. From the looks of it, these super empires can also be divided into the strong and the weak ones. At the very least, this Windcloud Empire was much stronger on the surface when compared with the other 3 super empires. No wonder they were able to act in such a domineering manner in this city. The so-called 100 Empire War is ultimately a place for the super empires to fight. Other than some of those who had truly gained great luck and ability from the other empires, most of those who remained until the end are those who from the super empires. It is really too difficult for an ordinary person to even gain a spot, much less stand out in that kind of place. Lindong also deeply agreed with this. Those people from the super empires already belonged to the peak level ever since they had entered this space. Even if they did not spend any effort to search for treasures or inheritances, they will still form over 90% of the competitors. It was easier said than done for an ordinary person to compete with these people from a completely different starting point. However, there was no absolute fairness in this word. Constantly dwelling over it will only make an ordinary individual even more ordinary, and they would only feel some additional useless resentment for no reason. The 4 super empires in Wanxiang City do not possess a congenial relationship. The auction this time around might worsen that grudge. I have heard that the 4 super empires are all targeting that heavenly soul treasure. No matter who the item ends up with, this Wanxiang City will definitely not be calm. Those grudges will also erupt at that time. Lindong nodded slowly. He lifted his head and looked into the distant night sky. He vaguely felt that this city seemed to possess the feeling of an approaching storm. After the auction was over the day after, it was likely that this city would also end up turning into a chaotic one. At that time, the Windcloud Empire would also likely attack them. As the 100 Empire War approached, the population in Wanxiang City grew increasingly terrifying. An escalating number of practitioners streamed in from every direction, causing the already electrifying atmosphere in the city to suddenly reach a whole new level. Over the past 2 days, several newcomers arrived to take the Nirvana Monument test. However, none of them could touch the first 3 ranks of the Earth category. What's more, it would be impossible for any of them to charge in and claim 3 of the 4 top spots in the Earth category in a domineering fashion like Lindong's group had done. Of course, this was partly because there were a few individuals who were unwilling to expose their true strength. After all, there were countless dragons and tigers hidden in Wanxiang City, and the people who could make it here were cautious and smart individuals. Hence, they naturally did not want to expose themselves. Nonetheless, this did nothing to conceal the commotion that Lindong's group had caused in the city. During that night, many people had witnessed the fight between Lindong and Luo Tong. Henceforth, there was hardly anyone in Wanxiang City who did not know of Lindong's daring exploit of challenging a prized fighter from the Windcloud Empire. After news of that night's event spread, what caused most people to be stunned was that the intolerant and arrogant Windcloud Empire, who once eliminated 5 high-rank empires in Wanxiang City, would turn eerily silent. In fact, it did not seem like they were going to cause trouble for Lindong. Of course, from the intel that they received, some astute individuals were able to vaguely deduce the reason. They knew that even though this grudge would not be easily resolved, the Windcloud Empire currently did not want to be distracted by Lindong's group. After all, their current target was the rumored Heavenly Soul treasure that would appear in the auction. After the fight over the Heavenly Soul treasure was concluded, it will be time to resolve that grudge. Like the calm before the storm, 2 days passed by stealthily and quietly. As news of the Heavenly Soul treasure spread, an increasingly number of elite practitioners streamed into Wanxiang City over the past 2 days. Everyone was aware just how powerful the Heavenly Soul treasure was. If they could somehow obtain it, their strength would surely surge. In fact, it would even give them a good fighting chance in the upcoming 100 Empire War. Due to the temptation of the heavenly soul treasure, the city grew increasingly chaotic. As thousands waited with bated breaths, 2 days passed. Finally, the Wanxiang city auction arrived in a leisurely manner. The auction was held in a large arena in the northern part of the city. As a heavyweight city, Wanxiang City was not lacking in land. Even though their city was packed, the arena was still able to accommodate them. When Lindong's group arrived at the large arena, it was already packed with people. When they heard the sound waves that dashed through the heavens, even though Lindong was already prepared for it, he involuntarily marveled secretly in his heart. Lindong's group walked into the arena and instantly felt countless peculiar stares being directed at him from every direction. In a short 2 days, Lindong had definitely become a well-known figure in Wanxiang City. Therefore, it was no surprise that everyone was aware of him. It seems like the allure of the heavenly soul treasure is pretty strong. Even Lindong has been drawn here. Soon after Lindong's group walked into the arena, a laugh sounded out from nearby. Lindong turned around, only to see Chang Ling, who he was briefly acquainted with, walk towards him together with a group of men. With regards to Chang Ling, Lindong did not dislike him. Just like him, the latter did not have a powerful background, and it must have took him a tremendous amount of effort in order to secure his current accomplishments. Lindong was clearly aware of the sacrifices it took. Brother Chang Ling. Lindong cupped his hands and smiled. Brother Lindong has truly made a name for himself overnight. That fight during that night was truly shocking. Chang Ling sincerely replied. That night, he had initially been worried for Lindong when he saw Luo Tong approaching Lindong's group. However, he never expected that renowned elite practitioner in Wanxiang City would be eventually forced by Lindong to eat humble pie and retreat. Lindong's performance that night can only be described by one word: stunning. The people beside Chang Ling were also staring reverently at Lindong. In their opinion, a super empire was a monstrous entity. Therefore, they admired the fact that Lindong actually had the guts to challenge one. With regards to their stares, Lindong could only laugh. No one would want to irk the wrath of such a troublesome foe, and he was no exception. However, things did not always play out as planned. Brother Lindong, I know that you must be here because of the heavenly soul treasure. However, based on the information that I have received, the Windcloud Empire is the favored winner in this fight. Once the heavenly soul treasure lands on their laps, based on their usual methods, they will surely employ drastic measures against anyone who have crossed them. At that time, you will probably be at the top of their list. Chang Ling glanced around, before he suddenly cautioned in a low voice. Lindong was slightly taken aback. Promptly, he gently nodded his head and said, "Thanks. I will be careful." When he saw this situation, Chang Ling, who was originally planning to advise him to leave Wanxiang City, shook his head while he bitterly laughed. After conversing for a while, he led his men and headed towards the front of the arena. Seems like the Windcloud Empire came prepared. While he stared at Chang Ling's back, Lindong was deep in thought. Even though the Windcloud Empire was powerful, could they defeat the 3 other super empires? It was never wise to count your chickens before they hatch. Go. Let's enter. Lindong shook his head and suppressed these thoughts. Following which, he directly led little Martin and found a seat in the large arena. Seems like quite a number of elite practitioners have came to Wanxiang City over the last 2 days. After taking their seats, little Martin's eyes casually scanned his surroundings before he suddenly said. Lindong gently nodded his head. Even though there were countless number of auras crisscrossed in the arena, he could still sense a few powerful vibrations within. In fact, some of these auras were similar to Luo Tong. Evidently, these elite practitioners were all attracted by the heavenly soul treasure. While Lindong was surveying his surroundings, a commotion suddenly erupted in the arena. Following which, a splitting wind sound echoed out as dozens of individuals descended from and landed directly at the forefront of the arena. The Lone Moon Empire. Amongst the dozen or so figures, Lindong stared at one familiar and alluring figure. She was Mu Hanyu. Besides her was a man dressed in white clothes. The aura that emerged from within that man's body caused Lindong's expression to turn solemn. That aura was more than twice as powerful as Luo Tong's. That is the leader of the Lone Moon Empire, Mu Lin. Sukue stared at that individual while he solemnly said, "Very powerful indeed." Lindong gently nodded his head. From Mu Lin's body, he could sense an extremely dangerous sensation. Immediately, he silently sighed inside his heart. He was truly envious of the members of these super empires. When Lindong observed Mu Lin, the latter also detected him. Immediately, he turned around and looked right at Lindong. Following which, he gently smiled at him. When he saw Mu Lin's friendly gesture, Lindong immediately returned it with a smile. He was no fool. Unless he had no other choice, he did not want to cross these powerful super empires. Not long after the Lone Moon Empire members appeared, two other groups entered the arena in a dazzling fashion. Under the attention of the crowd, they landed at the forefront of the arena. That man is Wu Ta from one of the four great super empires, Forest Empire. He is similarly a powerful individual who has reached the heaven category on the Nirvana monument. Sukue pointed at a green-robed man. The man's hair was jade green as well. However, the skin of his body was extremely dry and it even showed signs of cracking. Therefore, he looked quite peculiar. Nonetheless, the aura from his body did not lose out to Mu Lin. Besides him is Mo Fen from the Luo Empire. There used to be a powerful existence that commanded an entire region. On the other side was a muscular man with fire tattoos emblazoned on his back. He was seated on a stone chair while a savage and dry yuan power rippled from his body, causing the air several feet around him to turn exceedingly dry. The heads of the other two super empires. Lindong's eyes glanced at the two individuals who had powerful auras. Promptly, he gently nodded his head. They were indeed individuals who were able to obtain the heaven category on Nirvana monument. Sure enough, they would not be easy to deal with. Even though most of the people who could reach this place were pretty powerful, compared to the three of them, the difference was immediately apparent. The ones who were going to appear next should be the Windcloud Empire. Lindong's eyes slowly narrowed. Moments later, his heart violently shook. He could feel two extremely powerful yuan power vibrations suddenly surge from a distance away. Like a hurricane, it swept into the arena and blew the crowds away. Ha ha, it seems like most of you guys have arrived early. However, this heaven soul treasure is something that my Windcloud Empire must have. Today, let me witness who has the ability to snatch something away from our Windcloud Empire. A savage wind blew, while a hearty laugh wrapped with bipotent yuan power boomed across the large arena, causing many people's eardrums to ache. However, none of them dared to reveal a dissatisfied expression on their faces. Lindong slowly lifted his head and turned to look in that direction. At that spot, a savage yuan power hurricane gathered together, before two figures appeared flamboyant in front of the crowd. Right now, those two figures also turned around. Immediately, their eyes, which were several times sharper than Luo Tong, fixed onto Lindong's body with a slightly icy glint. The originally chaotic arena turned silent quietly. In fact, even Mu Lin and the rest tilted their heads and stared at this sight. The Windcloud Empire is truly domineering. Lindong's eyes met with those two pairs of eyes. Promptly, they crisscrossed under the stares of the crowd while he softly said. While he softly spoke, a man with a centipede-like scar on his face instantly chuckled. Promptly, his bone-chilling laughter ricocheted across the entire arena. Are you Lindong? Very well, your life is mine. This video will end here.